Wait a minute, Duro, you don't want to look like that. Your head isn't big enough to support that kind of weight.
Ian, you shampooed and rinsed scum sucker, would you ever trust a man with a heavily set haircut?
Yes.
Why?
Well, why would I not trust him?
Did you see Sledge's hairdo in this episode?
I trust Sledge, and he had a very well manicured bouffant.
It was brilliant.
How are you, Gerry?
I'm okay. How are things?
Not too bad at all.
Good.
You feeling festive?
Not yet, no.
No.
As we record this, we've just entered December.
But when people listen to it, it's going to be right before Christmas.
Oh yeah, I'm now feeling very, yes, festively spirited. Ho ho ho.
Merry holiday season to you.
Oh yes, brilliant. And if you're listening in the future, I hope you had a good new year.
Whichever year it may be.
Yes. 2023. That was a bugger of a year, wasn't it?
Oh, man. Glad that's finished.
So, this week's episode, Ian.
Yes, Sledgepoo.
Sledgepoo. Where did that title come from?
I don't know, and I feel like I should know. Because it looks like they expect it to be an obvious reference to something.
Yeah, but poo is, Sledge is obviously from the show, so it's just the poo element.
Yes. Did you look up one-word movie titles ending in poo?
No, I didn't.
Someone will know. Someone will let us know.
It's just like a term you would use to a baby, isn't it? Sledgy poo, like maybe a dog or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, do you want to beg early this week?
Yeah, I like it when we do that early because people can't skip it quite so easily. Well, they can. Most people can skip 45 seconds now if you want to miss the chat about iTunes and so on. But for those of you who are still about, please consider rating, reviewing this show on iTunes, subscribing to it as well, because even if you don't listen to it through iTunes, it helps other people find the show, which is great for us, and hopefully sparks a bit of interest in Sledge Hammer as well, which is good for everybody. If you want to talk to us about anything we've said on the show or anything that you think about the episodes or about Sledgehammer in general, you can find us at sledgehammerpodcast.com, where there's a post for each episode as we get through it, and also on social media. We're at Sledgecast on both Twitter and on Facebook.
Before we begin this episode, or this podcast episode proper, Ian, you noticed a few references perhaps to Columbo. This isn't the Columbo podcast, but we do tend to mention it quite a lot, but I think it's worth pointing out.
Yeah, are we going to do it right at the start and spoil the episode? Or
yeah, let's do it right at the start.
Well, there's a number of things. I don't think they're references to Columbo at all. It's just interesting coincidences, things that happened in Columbo that all happen in this episode. So you've got the prominent placement of an ice cream truck. Reminds you of most crucial game?
Yep, or dangerous match.
One or the other. You've got the Dobermans being trained to kill. How to Dial a Murder.
Correct, with the Scottish killer. In fact, the killer from my hometown.
Yes. You've got Columbo and Sledge both going to a salon and getting a unique haircut for one episode only.
Yes.
From an eccentric hairdresser or stylist. You've got the police commissioner being a criminal. Again, something that comes up in Columbo. You've got the establishing opening shot on the scene of the crime, so to speak, which you don't get in Sledge all the time, but certainly you do in Columbo fairly regularly. So it's just a few things.
And there's also a Columbo killer in this week's episode.
Well, that was the big one I was going to leave to you.
We'll get to that at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, a few things. So people who are fans of Columbo may well have also picked up on that, and we'll be able to name all the episodes that those things come from if we haven't already covered it.
I am sure. However, this is indeed the Sledge Hammer podcast, so let's talk Sledgehammer. How do you want to begin this week's episode?
I think we should have a summary for a change.
Why not? Crack on.
In Sledgepoo, Hammer and Duro try to expose a distinctly British criminal group who are robbing ladies' homes while they have their hair styled. Forced to impersonate a cat burglar, Sledge is put in a precarious position. But will justice be done? Or has Sledge finally met his match?
His hair set and match.
Oh.
A mansion We've seen a few mansions in Sledgehammer before.
We've seen the same mansion a few times.
Looks like it. Very brief scene. We see a cat burglar abseiling down the front of this mansion and breaking in.
Clearly a skilled man.
Very skilled. From there we go to Sledge's apartment.
He shows some skill of his own.
How?
His toast pops out the toaster and he shoots a hole in the middle of it with his gun, the perfect size to fry his egg and make eggy toast.
Correct. And the score at this moment is very Henry Mancini-esque, I would say. Quite Pink Pantherish.
Yeah, talking about music, obviously you've got the theme tune to Sledgehammer. We're talking about festive season earlier on. Something I didn't realise that I found out, and I might have mentioned it on the podcast the week that I found it out, but I hope I didn't, is Danny Elfman, well known, writing the theme tune to Sledgehammer, is the singing voice of Jack in The Nightmare Before Christmas. So that's quite interesting.
That's quite interesting, yeah. Big friend of Tim Burton.
Yeah, he did obviously the music for it and so on, but Sarandon, Mr. Sarandon was his first name.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon's
Ex-husband.
Yes.
Yes, he's the speaking voice of Jack.
most famous for being in Fright Night and Child's Play.
I don't know, is The Nightmare Before Christmas bigger than those?
Yeah, but you don't see him in that.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, we're in Sledge's apartment.
Yes. He takes a phone call.
From someone we've seen before.
Yes, the famous Kurt Krugel.
Yeah. He calls with information about this cat burglar. So obviously this thief has been making a bit of a name for himself.
Seems to have been, or at least he's been letting the wrong people know about what he's up to.
Sledge is initially not too interested in what Kurt has to offer until he discovers a cop was shot. Now he's mildly enraged.
Yeah, we never learn if that was true or if Kurt just said it to get some money out of Hammer, because there's no connection to police shootings in this episode.
No, the way he said it, I think he knew what buttons to push.
I think so.
So they agree to meet at the Bowlerama.
Yes, they do, and they meet there straight away.
Mm-hmm. Dory and Sledge are dressed in the full bowling gear.
Did you see the name of their bowling team on the back of their jerseys?
No, I missed that.
It wasn't great focus, but from what I could work out, I tried to pause it. It looked like it said Guns Across America.
That would make sense.
But obviously Dory and Sledge bowl together. They're wearing the same uniform. They wouldn't just get that to meet the informant.
And it fits.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Didn't know that.
Yeah, socialising out of hours.
We see Krugel hiding in the bowling machinery at the end of the lane.
Yeah, they explain why. Do you remember why he's not prepared to come out in public?
Because of something to do with being linked with Joan Rivers.
Yeah, he likes to keep a low profile ever since he was romantically linked to Joan Rivers.
Now, what happens is Krugel sends instructions that have been stuffed into one of the holes in the bowling ball. He sends that back up the retrieval system.
Yeah, and Hammer gets his fingers squished by leaving it sitting in the bowl.
We gave Trunk a bit of stick the other week there.
Yes, at the pool hall.
Yes, for leaving his fingers in that position. We said it's a silly thing to do. And
Yeah,
Sledge.
Yes, number one cause of injuries at the bowling hall, I would imagine.
Yes.
Also, how tempting is it to stick your finger in the bit that's moving really fast?
Yeah,
It's always like, oh, I better not. Maybe it's just me.
I think so.
Anyway, yes, the instructions come down and put the money in the hole of the ball, bowl a gutter ball.
Yes, but just as Sledge is about to bowl this gutter ball, a couple of players in the next lane.
Yeah, they're celebrating. They've obviously either got a strike or a winning score of some kind.
And Sledge's ego does not allow him to throw one into the gutter.
No, he has to bowl a strike, and he explains to Dory that he couldn't throw a gutter ball in front of other men.
And this obviously causes a bit of discomfort and pain for Krugel, who's behind the pins.
It does. He's quite panicked, and he responds fairly generously, I think, by actually sending the information back.
In a pink ball,
A small pink ball.
in which Sledge gets his thumb stuck.
He's trying to retrieve the message. Obviously, he's not got the right size of fingers for this particular ball, and it's wedged.
So the next thing we see is we're back at the precinct, and Blades is there now.
He's got the coroner to try and take his ball
I
off
was going to
his
say that.
finger.
Was Blades perhaps just in the
It
area?
could be. Maybe volunteered. Maybe it's not a medical appointment that he's made.
He's trying to remove Sledge from the ball when Officer Daly turns up to sour Sledge's mood even further.
Yes.
How did she do that?
Well, she says she used to have a ball like that. It's a girl's ball. And Hammer does not respond. Well, he responds as you would expect, I would say.
Yes. Trunk and the Commissioner enter, and they're discussing the problem of the cat burglar, and the Commissioner lets Trunk know that he has a personal interest in solving the case.
Yes.
What is it?
Well, a number of the victims have been friends of his wife.
Correct.
At this point, Blades returns with not butter, but margarine.
Yeah, well, before
Did I
that,
miss a bit? What
yeah,
was that?
before that, we've got some fun as the Commissioner appears before Sledge, who tries initially to hide the ball behind
yes.
his back.
And then he uses it to kill a bug.
Yes, very quickly.
And Trunk is unimpressed, but I think unsurprised.
I think, yeah, he's given up now. He's not going to try and reprimand him. He's just, yeah.
Dory tries to explain, and Trunk's not even interested. He's not listening to her either.
Yeah, neither Trunk or the Commissioner are amused, but they move on. And Blades, as you say, reappears. He's got some margarine to free Sledge, not butter,
It's
apparently.
better for you than butter.
And the ball is released, but drops onto Dory's foot.
Sledge tells her to stop making a fuss.
So they eventually are able to read the message that was stuffed in the hole.
Yes.
The burglar, apparently, is a famous second-story man from London. Did you know what a second-story man was?
I didn't, but I assumed it was to do with cat burglary.
Yeah, someone who goes in.
Upstairs.
So with this news, Sledge decides to call Scotland Yard. And we have a split screen as he looks to gain some information from an Inspector Westcott.
Oh. Yeah, Scotland Yard, this is Inspector Sledge Hammer from one of the countries you lost. I need some information.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I need the identity of a cat burglar who might be working the West Coast.
Ah, well, this everyone. That's funny. In real, an armed, dangerous, goes to shoot up.
Okay, thank you. Yes, absolutely, and nice talking to you. All I could get out of him was Henry Ill, whatever that means.
Well, the inspector obviously had a Cockney accent. He meant Henry Hill.
Very impressive linguistic skills, Vero.
Dankeschön.
Nee, dada.
Excuse me, the friends of Commissioner Halberstam's wife are here.
Oh, the ones who had their jewelry stolen.
Right, and they're very upset.
Well, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'll have a nice, sensitive talk with the broads.
Did you like the first of the two graphical, visual jokes with the split screen?
I prefer the second one that we've got coming up, but this one with the stretch.
Yeah, it's quite subtle.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. But the second one's better.
So as we heard, Westcott has told Sledge that a chap called Henry Hill is a likely candidate for the burglar. Now, Henry Hill, I think I'm right, was the character played by Ray Liotta in Goodfellas, so he's a real-life gangster. I think he died a couple of years ago.
Okay. The women who have been robbed for some reason have shown up together at the police station.
Yeah, very Stepford wife-ish.
Wanting a pep talk of some kind. I don't really understand what this is all about.
Yeah, Sledge. Just would you class Sledge as being sympathetic?
No, but I don't think he was particularly rude. He was just matter of fact.
What? Did you not just tell him to get out? Basically, not to say beat it.
Why are you worrying about trinkets? That's what he said to them, I think. Something along those lines.
They've been robbed. You can't say to a robbery victim, "Oh, it's just trinkets. You can buy more."
Well, you say that. None of them seemed upset by what he said. Well, one of them looked a little bit perturbed, but the one that Dory went on to speak to seemed perfectly happy.
Yeah. What did Dory want to speak to her about?
Their haircuts,
Why?
because they're all the same.
And what did Dory find out?
They recommend Sir Guy from Duke of Curl,
Yeah,
which is a lot like the recommendation that Columbo got when he did his hair.
that is correct. Sledge doesn't think that Dory should get her hair done like that, and we heard that at the top of the podcast.
Yes, the opening clip, her head's not big enough to hold the weight.
We're back into the main precinct area, or Sledge and Dory's desk.
I presume this is a wee bit later. Dory's done some work because she's found out that the women were all robbed during their haircuts.
Yes. And then Krugel calls.
We say Kringle. You're feeling Christmassy.
He's more information.
Yes, I think I interpreted this next bit as a dig at the studio.
Why?
Because Hammer, Krugel wants to meet at an archery event, and Hammer wants them to do something cheaper.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't make sense in the context of the story, But it makes sense in the fact they're not going to pay for another exterior shot at an archery event.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. Yeah. Sledge wants a less convoluted meeting, so they decide to go to the bus stop.
Yes, and they're going to do a newspaper drop.
Mm-hmm. So Sledge makes a £50 drop in said newspaper, and Krugel takes it and leaves the information in its place.
It's probably dollars, to be fair.
What did I say?
£50.
Yeah, pound, dollar.
It's about the same as
All the
dollars
same
these days.
yeah. But before Sledge can retrieve the money from the newspaper which is lying on the bench, a mature lady decides to sit down, and it gives Sledge a uncomfortable moment or two.
Yeah, for some reason he feels unable to say, "Excuse me, I need that. Can I see the newspaper?"
Or, excuse me, you're sitting on my hand.
Yes. Instead, he makes it seem like he is
A sex pest.
some kind of weirdo. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So Dory has to save the day. She turns up, shows her badge, and says that she'll deal with this creep.
And the woman leaves, and Dory retrieves the paper from somehow having been stuck to her jacket.
Yes. So they read this note, and the message is delivered in some form of hieroglyphics.
Yes, did you see the code for cat burglar?
It was a cat and a burger.
Yes.
Because you couldn't think of anything that would, symbolise burglar.
No. But the next victim is a Felicia Waterhouse.
Yes, and she is going to be robbed at 2 p.m. the following day.
So we skip ahead to 2 p.m. the following day.
Well, before that, we have Sledge admitting that he's tired. He's tired of the case and this child's play. He wants to get back to the fun and games and dealing with death. As you say, we head over to the Waterhouse mansion.
Yes.
What happens?
Well, the cat burglar shows up, and Sledge goes to get out his car and loses his door to the ice cream truck that's driving by.
Yeah.
But he and Dory then challenge the burglar.
Well, the Sledge fires a warning shot in the air right beside Dory's ear, nearly deafening her.
She's not like that.
The yell frees, but the burglar makes a run for it.
Yes, he jumps over an open gate and is hit by the ice cream truck and killed.
Yeah, the ice cream truck is... See, that's the thing, it's going very slow because it's following a...
A child on a bike? Yeah.
No, a jogger.
A jogger, sorry,
yeah.
yes.
And I like this part. Sledge tries to follow the burglar over by climbing the gate. He's halfway up, and Dory simply pushes it open.
Yes. But the burglar also went over the gate.
Yeah, but he's a
burglar.
A burglar, yeah.
It reminded me a bit of the scene, I don't know if you've seen Deadpool, where he's chasing the guy in the ice rink with a very slow-moving ice cleaner. It's like, you'll be dead in about 5 minutes.
So they eventually get to the burglar lying on the ground, and he's dying, and he's got some last words.
He does. He wants to know if Sledge thinks he'll make it to heaven.
How does Sledge respond?
No way in the world. Dory thinks that's unsympathetic. I don't think Sledge is too bothered.
No, but he does pull down the ski mask as a mark of respect. Back to a conversation with Westcott at Scotland Yard.
Yes, he gives a description of Henry Hill, which matches the victim of the ice cream incident.
Yeah, so he confirms that's who it is.
Yes. Hammer's doing quite well picking up the Cockney language.
He is. English language in general, the English accent in general, as we come to hear later.
Yes.
And we mentioned this earlier, this scene, or the split screen ends with a nice little touch.
Yes, Westcott puffs on his cigar, and Hammer wafts the smoke away that's blowing in his face.
So after the call, Dory is brought up to speed, and she has a plan.
Yes.
Got an idea.
Well, now you're starting to think like a man.
Why don't you get your hair done?
You disappoint me, Duro. I'm a nihilist, not a stylist.
Hammer, all the women were at Sir Guy's salon when their mansions were being robbed. What does that tell you?
Yeah, that despite their stupid hairdos, they still look homely.
No.
Well, what?
Sir Guy had something to do with the robberies. Now, why don't you go there and try and draw him out?
Why don't you go? Those roots of yours could use a little touching up.
Now, do you think that was just insensitivity from Hammer, or do you think he was having a dig because she'd asked him to do something he didn't want to do?
Perhaps a bit of both.
Yeah.
It didn't go down well anyway, did it?
She stormed off, didn't she?
Yeah.
As you would expect.
I did like that. He's a nihilist, not a stylist line.
Good rhyming.
So Sledge heads across to the Duke of Curl hairdressing salon.
He's incognito though.
Yeah, the first line is brilliant here. Sledge tells him to go ahead and do my hair.
Yes, he asks, or Sir Guy, who's doing his hair, asks Sledge who referred him.
Before that, I did like Sir Guy telling Sledge that his hair had no concept. It doesn't fit the shape of his head.
Yes, probably fair.
And as you say, he asks about the referral. Or I think Sledge might offer it up first. Yeah. He doesn't ask him who referred him. I think Sledge...
He said, how did you get here? He says, by car.
Yes.
And Guy prods him for more information. He says, only a bloody bloke named Ill.
In fact, in fairness, Sledge does it in a better accent than you.
Interestingly, I was listening to a thing on the radio just this week from an accent coach. She was talking about certain people have certain difficulties with particular accents, and she thinks that Americans struggle with
Scottish accent.
a working class London accent, so Cockney in particular. The vowel sounds are very difficult for Americans to manage, apparently.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it was just Americans.
No, lots of people as well, but she was her experience from working on movies and stuff was that was a particular issue. And I don't think it's too bad, the work that David Rashi does here.
I think Rashi's work's brilliant.
Yeah. He's dropping hints about his intentions and the reasons that he's come to see Sir Guy.
Yes, he says he is in the same line of work.
As the cat burglar, Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Yes. I have reason to doubt that Guy is a real knight of the realm.
What makes you say that?
There's no precedent really for a hairstylist being knighted at his age.
Are you sure? What nationality was Vidal Sassoon?
French?
But someone like that, at that level, could...
Yeah, but not at the... Sir Guy looks like a man in his 30s or 40s. Like, I mean, maybe like a Nicky Clark style. He's not been knighted.
Or Taylor Ferguson, a more local one.
Yes.
So Sir Guy wants Sledge's details so that he can catch up with him later.
Well, he tells him he wants to add him to his mailing list so he can send him some samples of a astringent.
Yeah, stringent what?
I don't even want to know.
Over to Sledge's apartment. He's not happy.
No, his brush does not seem to be holding up well to the new hairstyle.
So he's got one of these sort of teddy boy DA hairstyles that breaks the brush as he tries to put it through it.
Yeah. Every single one of the teeth fall out. That must have been a fun prop to put together. I wonder how many takes they got out of that one.
It'll look great. So the guy arrives and asks how Sledge likes his concept. What does he tell him?
He likes it about as much as he likes restrictions on gun use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guy then offers him a job.
Yeah, but before that, did you see I don't remember seeing this before, the viewing hole on his front door.
No.
It's a gun sight.
Is it?
And when you look through it, it's got a target on the person outside.
That's brilliant, actually. Someone should market that.
That'd be quite good.
I'd get one.
Yeah.
Also, did you notice that Sir Guy carries a hairdresser in his waistband like a gun?
A hairdryer.
What did I say?
Hairdresser.
Really?
He's got Nicky Clark in his film.
What a miniature person. Anyway, yes, he's offered the job.
Yes, Sir Guy is not naming his associate at this stage, but they want Sledge, or whatever they think he's called at this point, to help them or join their expedition.
Yes. This particular job that's offered is to break into the police commissioner's house whilst the wife is having her hair done.
Yes.
Sledge tells him that he will have a think about it.
Did you enjoy the way that they parted?
Loved it. In fact, I'm going to use it at the end of this podcast.
Okay.
Over to Trunk's office.
Yes, the Commissioner and Trunk and Dory and Hammer are putting a plan together.
Yes, Sledge is going to play along with the proposed robbery, and the Commissioner will give Sledge the jewels, which he can then take to Sir Guy to show that he has carried out the task.
Yes, it's not actually going to break in anywhere.
Yes.
Trunk commends Dory on her work on the case and tells Hammer his haircut's stupid.
And I like, this is a great line. He says, bad hair. Very bad hair. That's all you need to say.
Yeah, well, he's got the same hair every week.
Sledge calls Guy and accepts this second story job. He usually blasts through the front door, but that's another story.
Yeah,
That's a nice joke.
you think?
Yeah.
Why?
Second story.
Oh, got it.
I usually go.
Right.
However, Sledge's plans are scuppered somewhat
Yes, Guy is going to insist on accompanying him on the mission.
to break in this new guy.
Yes, he breaks in his new breaking in guys
Yeah.
by accompanying them and seeing how they get on.
So they've got to meet at the mansion. Is it the next day, I think?
Yes, I guess so. No, he says meet me there at past, and Hammer's no idea what.
10:30. Officer Daly then hands over the jewels to Sledge as he admits this little problem to Dory.
Yes, and they have a discussion. Dory obviously is concerned because Hammer's never broken into anywhere before. It's similar to her concerns about him impersonating Elvis.
Yep, or perhaps hustling a hustler.
Yeah, but she expressed it in the Elvis episode particularly, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I liked Sledge's response to this. He says, listen, don't worry about it. Before I ever shot a man, I'd never shot a man.
It's he does his trust me routine and knocks the jewellery off the table.
Yeah. So we head over to the mansion and we see Guy receiving a call in his car confirming that the commissioner's wife is having her hair done. So Sledge and him get out of the car so that Sledge can break in.
He doesn't do a good job of it. There's a sort of extended routine here where he does a bit of slapstick. And it's okay.
It's a shamble. I mean, he's quite clearly not infamous, respected second story.
No, but I suspect Guy already knew that.
So yeah, Hammer's falling down, breaking things, getting caught by.
Did Guy know that? Because Guy says this is a disaster.
No, I don't think that. I think
Guy's out the loop on this.
Yes, he is. I'd say so. Sledge eventually manages to enter the house, only to be met with a Doberman.
A vicious, growling attack dog.
Yeah, who does start to attack. I think he bites at his trouser leg.
Yep, at which point the commissioner walks in.
And things take a turn.
Hammer. Surprised to see me?
Why should I be? You live here.
That's not what I mean.
What's the price that you're behind this? No, any dimwit could figure that out.
Then how did you?
Easy. Police commissioner can't afford a big mansion and expensive jewels unless he's on the take. Or unless he finds a lot of change in his couch cushions.
Too bad you won't be alive to tell this to anyone. On my command, my dog will rip you to shreds. You see, it's all been well thought out from the beginning. Including sucking you in, sucker.
Freeze!
Tear him up! My dog.
Oh, your dog is all right. But not for long.
Did you enjoy the way the dog made a breaking glass sound as it went through an open window?
Yeah, I did actually. That reminds me of, was it the pilot episode where the cat was...
No, it wasn't the pilot, it was Witless.
It was Witless, you're correct.
The 3 different cats.
Uh-huh.
At least 2 of them went out the window.
Yeah. So that's how we ended this week's episode, and I thought it was a sillier episode this week.
It's a bit ominous for the dog.
Why?
Well, the ice cream man's clearly going to mow it down in a minute.
Oh yeah, dog's dead.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's off screen.
that's fine then. Cool. No animals were harmed in the making of this film, except that dog that's now dead.
Yeah, but we didn't see it, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. This reminds me of the time that we contacted the chimp asylum to find out what happened to the one that worked on Columbo. Not chimp asylum, that's not the right word.
No.
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary, yes. And you emailed about 3 or 4 times. You know, the first email or so, they were reasonably helpful, saying yes, it was a chimp called Molly or whatever it was.
We don't know what happened to it.
No, you tried to press and says, well, what did happen? How old was she? What was her favourite food?
Eventually they came back with, we don't talk about him!
Yes, leave us alone. Do not contact us again. End of communication.
The police ended their investigation.
Anyway. Yeah, no, I like this episode. I did say that it's a bit sillier. I mean, every episode of Sledge Hammer is deliberately silly, but this one felt a little bit lighter. There have been some episodes which, in fairness, have been a bit darker, have touched on subjects with a bit more gravitas to them. This one wasn't. This one was just good fun. Yeah. It was just nonsense in the best possible way.
Yeah, it was harmless as well. It was fine. There was no epilogue though, which was a shame.
Yeah, I do like it getting back. I mean, I especially like the episodes when it comes back to the precinct, usually into Trunk's office.
Yeah.
For a wrap up.
It's a shame. We don't get a lot of Trunk in this episode. He's there with the Commissioner a couple of times. He's got a couple of wee lines, but
yeah,
he's kind of on the periphery.
Hopefully that will be remedied shortly.
Yeah, we've only got 3 more episodes of the season to go.
Yeah. Maybe Trunk doesn't turn up in season 2.
Well, we'll see. Maybe
this is at the point where he is going on to other things and he's rating himself out, or he's been written out.
No, because we saw earlier in the season that he had a few episodes where he was kind of barely in it and then he came back.
Okay. So we move on to production information, Ian.
Sure.
The 14th of February 1987 was the original air date, so Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Thomas Schlam was the director. He was born in 1950.
That's a familiar name.
Well, he's a producer, writer and director. He's won 9 Emmys, most notably for The West Wing.
That's why I know him.
Sports Night and Tracy Takes On.
So he's a Sorkin associate.
Yes. He has also worked on So I Married an Axe Murderer, Studio 66 on the Sunset Strip,
More Sorkin,
Mr. Sunshine and Pan Am. He's married to Christine Latty, who's an actress.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Formerly Christine Flatwhite.
She's a seasonal beverage from Starbucks.
Alan Mandel was the writer this week, born in 1945. He has written for The Odd Couple, Going South, Smokey and the Bandit, Who's the Boss, and The Upper Hand. Now, Who's the Boss? You're aware of The Upper Hand?
Mm-hmm.
That was the British version of Who's the Boss.
Oh, right, okay.
So both of those were his last credits.
Is that the one with Paul McGann in it?
One of the McGanns, yes. And a former Columbo killer.
All right.
Honor Blackman.
Right, yes.
From
yes,
Dagger.
Yes, of course, yes.
Guest stars this week. We have George Dickerson as the Commissioner. He died in 2015, aged 81. Known for Blue Velvet, Death Warrant, Death Wish 4, Matlock, and Hill Street Blues, amongst lots of other things. He was a UN diplomat in Lebanon and a speechwriter for an American congressman.
Which one?
Don't know.
Okay.
Michael DeBarry was born in 1948 and he played Sir Guy. He is now a radio presenter, but he is also known for being in Mulholland Drive, Pink Cadillac, Ghoulies, Suits, Nip Tuck, Roseanne, Melrose Place, L.A. Law, MacGyver, The Rockford Files, and interestingly, he replaced Robert Palmer as the singer of Power Station in 1985. Perhaps more impressively, he turned down the offer to replace Freddie Mercury in Queen.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting, isn't it?
He didn't want to break free.
No.
Clive Revel played Inspector Westcott from Scotland Yard.
Name, isn't it?
It is. Born in 1930. He has been in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. He's done lots of voice work, especially around these Star Wars video game stuff. Robin Hood Men in Tights, Star Trek Next Generation, Chud 2, Bud the Chud, Murder, She Wrote, T.J. Hooker, and we'll know him best for playing Joe Devlin in 1978 episode of Columbo, The Conspirators. That was the final episode in the original Columbo run.
Well, you've said all that I was potentially going to add there, so that's fine.
Sorry. And finally, Benny Baker. He died in 1994, aged 87, and he played the ice cream truck driver. I think this was an actor who was, had a bit of fame. He was bigger back in the maybe 50s and 60s. He was in Paint Your Wagon, F Troop, Perry Mason, the Hoboken Chicken Emergency, and Up in Arms. He had trademark small, round, normally taped spectacles, and I think he wore those in this week's episode as well. My feeling would be in this, and I think I've seen it quite a few times, is that these are maybe stars who have had their day, so to speak. They were bigger back, 30 or 40 years prior to this, but perhaps they were in shows that were favourites of Alan Spencer.
Perhaps.
So he's given them he's happy to be working with the heroes of his child. Yeah. Next week we've got Comrade Hammer.
Oh, Soviet episode.
Yeah, it's going to be a very fast one. We'll be rushing.
I think that's a good point to just wrap everything up because you
Well,
can't beat that line.
No, before we do, favourite lines this week?
I like the one talk about being cheaper than archery and not wanting to spend money on it.
Okay, I had two, the nihilist, not a stylist, but I think I'll go for Sledge being tired of the child's play, wanting to get back to fun and games and dealing with death.
Fair enough.
That's us.
Yeah.
You've performed your
Weekly duties.
Your weekly duties already.
I have. It's time for us to say cheerio.
Race Christmas.